Good morning,
Good morning.
and welcome to Upreach with Bob Starkey, where we are practicing practical evangelism, where the Bible meets blue jeans. And today it's my privilege to be in Avon, Indiana, with author Tammi Huggins. And you're an author of some really neat books, and that was what brought me to Avon today. This is the most exciting, I thought, Bridges and Bodies.
Yeah.
They're murder mysteries,
They
but
are.
yet set from a Christian perspective.
Yes, exactly.
What would you say, what is highlighted about the Christian message?
Well, we have the man who solves the crimes, the sleuth, is a locomotive engineer. He's also chaplain of the railroad. And he has to go to work every day and face the blue-collar fellow workers and try to exemplify Christ in his job as well as be one of the guys.
And as I was reading through the book and thumbing through it, that's through example, wasn't it? And
Yes.
just day-to-day living.
Just day-to-day living, yep.
I wonder what a chaplain for a railroad company would consist of.
It seems to me he had people would come and kind of almost be a confessor at
Wow.
times to some of their problems, because they were deep problems, and you get an idea of how difficult the lifestyle is if you work for the railroad. You're not home very much at all, and it's difficult to have any family life. So he would hear a lot of the problems and be able to relate to them at the same time. And
Definitely a listening board.
yes, and he had to preach at some funerals as well, had the opportunity to do that.
Sounds like that person that's a source of wisdom, guidance,
Yes,
instruction.
and at the same time, one of the guys.
Amen. Such inspirational books. I noticed that you also have study guides that go with them.
Yes, wrote study guides for book clubs that may want to discuss it, and the leader of the book club would have a set of questions to discuss, and also kind of hit some of the main points, because I do want to be a Christian writer, known first for that rather than a murder writer.
And it's an excellent murder mystery. It's exciting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I mean for that to happen. And I guess when I thought maybe I can write a book, I thought, what do I know? And I read a lot of murder mysteries and enjoy it. So I went with the murder mystery format, which I kind of knew after you read hundreds of them.
Huh, how about that?
Yeah.
What is it that because you say you want to teach through your writings, what is it that you want people to learn through your books and through the study programs?
I think I want them to learn how to exemplify Christ in everyday life. Because most of us work secular jobs.
Right.
And so we go into everyday world and face whatever problems that might face us, and face our fellow workers too. And try to be Christ-like. Just like those old bracelets, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does your book studies work?
Pretty much like that. Like, let me grab one of them here. Oh, here we go. And I'll just mention a couple of the questions. This is for the first book. It says, the setting of Murder and Misconception is modern day railroad. Could this story be set elsewhere, and would it be the same? So if you change the setting altogether, would this story be the same? Well, hopefully we're going to find out that, yes, we're all the same, pretty much whatever setting, whether you're in the construction setting or you're in a train or
Waitress
teaching school or whatever. People are the same. But hopefully you're going to find some of these, what should I call them? Truths.
Yeah.
And be able to discuss the truths with others.
Have you had any Sunday schools reach out to you and use your books before?
No, the Sunday school hasn't contacted me. I have.
It's such an interest.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well, and just trained so some people may not have the interest in the railroad. I wrote because Bob worked for the railroad, so I knew the railroad life, and they do say write what you know. And I said,
Yeah.
what do I know besides teaching? I know the railroad life. So I kind of went that way, but I haven't had a Sunday school, although this would be, adequate for a Sunday school.
Yeah, it seems like somebody could go through the book through a week, like a chapter a week or something like that. Is there certain principles or truths that we see in the chapters, or is it a long
Hopefully there's
truth that is taught?
multiple truths that you see throughout. I did have a group that was actually in a senior living home. It was a book study, and I went to them and discussed the study guide with them. And that was a nice group to work with. So they were all seniors.
That's interesting. You say it's set in modern day?
Railroad. Yep.
I am a native of Henrys County. This is our stomping ground. And it's interesting, when I just saw the cover, it caught my appeal because I was like, I recognize
The bridge.
the bridge.
Yeah.
And this is definitely railroad country. Many friends and families have worked for this railroad right here over the years. And they might have met Ben.
They might have met Ben Time. That's very true.
But you speak of the things that you know, and you must be a history buff, because you have definitely brought the history of the community of Avon into your books.
I got some we go to a lot of model railroad shows to sell the books, but we also I buy a lot of historical railroad books to read, and I have learned so much. It is interesting. The history of the railroads is very interesting. The fact that, I think I mentioned it in maybe this one, Death and Deflection, that a lot of railroads employed whole families. Because people didn't know, if you didn't know that your life would be taken day and night, long, long hours, never have any days off, you're on call continually. You don't have any holidays off. You never can be there for a birthday for a kid, nothing like that. And if you didn't know that and you just started to work for them, you'd quit. And they lose a lot of people that way.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. So that family members know that lifestyle. And they tend to then, I want to work for the railroad because I know it, I understand it, I can continue in it. But there's just lots of families employed by the railroads.
What would the other families members do? Like conductor, cleaning?
One family that we do happen to know and Bob worked with, one was a conductor, one was an engineer, another was another engineer, and another was in management.
Interesting.
So they all had different really spots, but occasionally they worked together, but not often. But they all got onto the railroad, and throughout history, there have been families employed. In fact, in the late 1800s, it was such a dangerous place. Whole families were decimated by the railroad. There's so many accidents.
I went to the circus train accident, and it's up in Chicago. Went to the cemetery. The elephants are buried there. Yeah, fascinating. A lot of accidents over the years, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yep, it's interesting. And so railroad history, I read a lot of those books and kind of incorporated little bits and pieces throughout these, so you'd come away a little smarter.
And Tammi, I was reading your biography, and you've written other works besides fictional books. You were a Christian author for devotionals. Talk to me about that.
I started off doing that. Actually, I started off as a ministries director in our church, and I would just tell stories, and they seemed to like it. And a lady at our church said, you need to write these down. And
What do you mean you tell stories?
I tell stories. Well, usually in special occasions, I'd get up and tell.
Because you're a motivational speaker, aren't you? You speak in public.
That from time to time. Yes, I do that. But anyway, she said, I think you need to write these down. And I said, well, I'm not really a writer. I'm a science major. I'm a science person. And she says, well, let me help you. And she did. She was a great help to me.
Wow.
She corrected them with all red, which is why I wasn't an English person. I didn't like all that red on my papers, but she would correct them. And I gradually learned to be a better writer. And then start with short articles for denominational magazines and There's several books like Chicken Soup for the Soul
Oh, neat.
and Vitamin C for the Soul that they took some of them, and just different publications. I use a Christian Writers Market Guide to look up where I may send these and where they might be appropriate for.
Who is your audience as a Christian writer? I ask that, and we say a Christian writer, you definitely teach the truth and you share the love of God in your books and what it is to be a believer. Who is your audience as a Christian author? Do you have many, I hate to use the term, but non-believers read your book? Or
I have to think that probably the shorter articles would be other Christians. Now the books, I was hoping to get a larger audience in non-believers and men. And one reason I wanted to use my initials, T.A. Huggins, was because I wanted men to read this and be impacted by it. So I was trying for a larger audience once I started with book writing.
Interesting. When I see your book, you got great artwork. These are first class. This is not no hillbilly put together.
Morgan James is my publisher.
Yeah, you've done a really good job.
They let me have input to the artwork, but I am not the artist. But I was able to okay it and give them suggestions and send them artwork that I thought would be appropriate.
When I was reading in your bio, you made a statement right off the bat. You said words matter. And it sounds like for the last 20 years, words are important to you. And you're communicating God's truth through words.
Yeah. I want to communicate God. When I was speaking to the 14-year-olds, bless their hearts, they impressed me greatly. The one girl said, I want to be a Christian writer. And she said, do you have any advice? And I said, just glorify God. And really, I think that is the main thing. With our words, with our actions, glorify God. And it sounds easy, doesn't it? 2 words, glorify God. And yet, it's so difficult.
Revelation 4:12 says that that's the reason God made us, was to bring glory and honor to Him. How do we do that in our everyday life?
Gosh, I guess if you get the chance to maybe witness or give your testimony to someone, that's always a good thing if you get the opportunity. We don't always get that opportunity. Right. Sometimes it might be just hold the door open, for the person behind you. Sometimes it might be buy them a cup of coffee in the coffee line. So I think it's different ways.
Well, I appreciate your books. One question I was asking about words that matter, I was looking at the name of this one book, Murder and Misconception. What does that mean? Misconception. Is that the plot line? Are we going to blow it?
Yeah, we have a lot of misconceptions about people. And I don't want to give away the book, but just in our life, you look at people and you might think, well, they do look like a murderer, but that person could never be. We do form misconceptions.
Was that the? Often. Well, okay, never mind.
Yeah, no, I'm trying not to give it away too, but yeah.
I kind of thumbed through them. I read some reviews online. I'm going to buy the set off you today. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. My wife loves these types of books too. So yeah, she does. Absolutely. It's definitely a genre of our modern day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And this is very relatable. I feel like anybody in Henry County that will read these books will feel like, wow, this is right here down the road.
Yep.
They're going to get sucked in. And it basically goes from, what'd you say, Toledo, Ohio to St. Louis, Missouri. And it's exciting. Talked about the study guides. I like it, the fact that you say you're not just to entertain. Boy, you do. You do entertain. It grips you and holds you. But you say it's also to teach. I encourage you to look up Tammi Huggins. You can just Google her name and go right to her webpage and find her information. Well, we like to end our program every week with a simple phrase where we like to say, may the Lord be with you until we meet again. Whether in Avon, Indiana, maybe in a Tammi Huggins murder mystery book, or on the air. Thank you, Tammi.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you.